I'm 19 and just finished my first year of college. I moved back in with my parents for the summer, thinking I'd get a break from dorm food, annoying roommates, and lectures that go on forever. Instead, I walked into something that I still can't make sense of. My family isn't perfect, but we're tight. My dad works in finance, my mom's a school teacher, and my little brother, Tyler, is 14 and into gaming more than anything else. We're not the leave it to beaver type, but we've always had a rhythm, quiet dinners, weekend trips, occasional family game nights. Nothing flashy, just stable. So when I came home, I expected that same familiarity. The first 2 weeks were normal enough. I unpacked, caught up with friends, and even picked up a part-time job at the local bookstore. My parents were the same as always, maybe a little more tired, but nothing major. Tyler, though, he was weird. Quiet, even for him. He used to follow me around, begging to play co-op games or asking about college. Now, he barely looked at me. I figured it was just teenage mood swings. God knows I was insufferable at that age. But then one night, around 2 a.m., I went downstairs for water and saw him sitting in the dark living room, staring out the window. I asked what he was doing, and he practically jumped out of his skin. Said he couldn't sleep and that he thought he heard something outside. I didn't think much of it at the time. Gave him a pat on the back, told him to go to bed, and went back upstairs. But then it happened again. 2 nights later, same thing, Tyler sitting in the dark, staring outside. Only this time, he didn't say anything when I asked. He just got up and walked past me like I wasn't there. That's when I started noticing other things. Small things disappearing from the kitchen. The smell of cigarettes in the garage, even though no one in our family smokes. The back door unlocked in the morning when I was sure I'd locked it at night. I brought it up to my mom, half joking that maybe we had raccoons. She brushed it off, said I was overthinking things. But then I found the notebook. It was hidden under Tyler's bed when I helped him look for a missing phone charger. At first I thought it was a sketchbook, but when I opened it, it was filled with strange lists. Dates, names, weird codes. One page just had the word wait written over and over in red ink. I asked him about it, but he completely shut down. Refused to talk. Ran to his room and slammed the door. That was 3 nights ago. And last night, everything changed. Last night started like any other. I got home from work around 9, tossed my bag on the floor, and collapsed on the couch. My parents were out at some dinner party, and Tyler was in his room. I didn't plan on doing anything more than eating leftovers and zoning out with some Netflix. But around midnight, I heard the creak. Our house is old, and the floors creak all the time, but this one came from right outside my door. Not loud, but definite. I paused the show and listened. Nothing. I assumed it was Tyler going to the bathroom and didn't think twice. Until I heard it again, only this time, it wasn't a creak. It was a whisper. Very faint, like someone trying to talk but not wanting to be heard. I got up, cracked the door, and looked into the hallway. No one was there. But the attic ladder was down. I stood frozen. No one had mentioned going into the attic. We barely used it, just boxes of Christmas stuff and old clothes up there. I quietly walked to the ladder and peeked up, heart pounding. There was a light on. A dim flashlight beam bouncing slowly, like someone was moving around. I whispered Tyler's name, but there was no answer. My gut twisted. Every instinct said to close the ladder and pretend I hadn't seen anything. But I couldn't. I needed to know. I climbed up, one hand gripping my phone, the other clutching the ladder. The attic smelled musty, and the air was heavy with heat. As I reached the top, I saw Tyler. He was kneeling in front of a large cardboard box, the flashlight sitting beside him. He didn't notice me at first. He was focused, too focused. I called his name again. This time, he turned. And he looked terrified. His face went pale when he saw me. He immediately stood up and stepped in front of the box, like he was guarding it. I asked what he was doing. He didn't answer. Instead, he whispered, "You shouldn't be up here." Then he picked up the flashlight, turned it off, and pushed past me down the ladder, fast. I was left alone in the dark attic, heart racing, not sure what I'd just walked into. But I couldn't leave without seeing what was in that box. I turned on my phone flashlight, stepped over, and opened it. Inside were dozens of photos. Printed pictures. All of me. Sleeping. Laughing. Eating dinner. Even getting out of the shower, one that was taken through a crack in the bathroom door. I dropped the phone. I couldn't breathe. I picked it up again and kept looking. The pictures spanned months, maybe years. I felt sick. Who took these? Why were they hidden? And why the hell did my 14-year-old brother have them? Then I saw the envelope at the bottom of the box. It had my name on it, written in all caps. And it was sealed. I didn't open the envelope right away. My hands were shaking too badly. I just stood there, flashlight beam dancing across the attic insulation, trying to convince myself that this wasn't what it looked like. But there was no other way to see it. That box was a shrine. A collection of stolen moments, compiled and hidden. And it wasn't just creepy, it was deliberate. I finally forced myself to rip the envelope open. Inside were 4 sheets of paper, written in the same red ink from Tyler's notebook. The first 3 were just rambles. Paragraphs with no punctuation, jumping from one thought to the next. My name was repeated constantly, sometimes in capital letters, sometimes underlined. There were weird phrases like "she doesn't remember," and "keep her near," and "don't let them find out." The 4th page stopped me cold. It was a list of dates. All within the next 2 weeks. Next to each date was a single word: test, wait, close, and then finally. Release. I stared at the word release for a long time. Something about it felt final. Like it meant more than it said. I shoved the papers back into the envelope and climbed down, locking the attic behind me. Tyler was nowhere to be seen. His bedroom door was shut, lights off. I stood outside it for a minute, unsure of what to say, if I should say anything at all. Instead, I went back to my room and locked my door. Sleep didn't come easy. The next morning, I woke up to find the attic ladder gone. It had been put back, perfectly flush, like it had never been touched. My parents were in the kitchen, laughing about something they saw on the news. Everything looked normal. But I felt like I was moving through a dream, one of those where nothing is quite real, and you can't wake yourself up. Tyler came downstairs 20 minutes later like nothing had happened. He poured cereal, made small talk with Mom, and didn't even glance at me. I was losing it. I had to be. So after breakfast, I made an excuse to grab something from his room. He was outside, helping Dad clean the car, so I had a few minutes alone. I went to his desk drawer. The notebook was gone. Not just moved, gone. I checked every drawer, every shelf, under the bed, even inside his backpack. Nothing. But I did find something else. Taped under his desk was a single photo. Folded in half. It was of me again. But this one was different. I was asleep in my dorm room. Hair messy, wrapped in blankets. I had no idea it was taken. But I recognized the window in the background. And that's when it hit me. Tyler had never visited my college. Ever. That single photo changed everything. I sat on Tyler's floor, heart racing, staring at the image like it might suddenly explain itself. But there was only one explanation, and it made my skin crawl. Someone had been in my dorm room. Not just on campus. Inside. While I was sleeping. I didn't want to believe it. I kept telling myself maybe one of my friends took it as a joke. Maybe someone sent it to Tyler. But even as I reached for those excuses, I knew better. This wasn't a group selfie or a Snapchat memory. It was taken from the corner of the room, angled down like someone had stood on my desk. And the only way to get that angle was if you were there, physically. I folded the photo back up and shoved it into my hoodie pocket. I didn't know what to do with it, but I knew I couldn't leave it behind. I got out of his room fast, and for the rest of the day, I played the part. I ate lunch with my parents, helped unload groceries, even watched part of a movie with Tyler like nothing was wrong. All while my mind spiraled. That night, I triple-checked every lock in the house and stuffed a chair under my bedroom doorknob. But around 2:30 a.m., something woke me. Not a sound. A smell. Smoke. Not like fire, more like something stale, like burnt plastic or rubber. I sat up, disoriented, trying to place it. The hallway light was off, but a dim orange glow bled under my door. I moved the chair, cracked the door open, and saw it immediately. The front door was wide open. Wind pushed through the screen, carrying that smell into the house. The porch light was on. But there was no sign of anyone. I walked to the door slowly, hard in my throat. Outside, everything looked normal. Quiet. Just a regular summer night. Until I looked down. On the welcome mat was a box. Small. Plain. Sealed shut with packing tape. I glanced around the yard. Still empty. No movement. I brought the box inside and set it on the kitchen table. No name. No label. Just tape. So I opened it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a single VHS tape. No markings. No note. Just that tape, sitting there like it had been waiting. I don't even own a VCR. But Tyler does. I stared at the tape for a long time, half hoping it would vanish if I blinked enough. Who even sends a VHS tape in 2025? And more importantly, who knew Tyler had a working VCR in the first place? It was an old thing he picked up at a garage sale last year. Said he liked the retro vibe. He'd hooked it up in the basement, in a little corner he'd made his own. No one else really used that space, just a couch, a tiny TV, and shelves of old horror movies he thought were cool because they were gritty. I didn't want to go down there. Every part of my body told me not to. But there was no way I was just going to sit on this. I needed answers. And I needed them now. I crept down the basement stairs. The air was thick, humid, and something about the silence made it feel like I was descending into a tomb. The VCR was already on. The TV, too. Just a blank blue screen, waiting. I slid the tape in. It clicked. And then the screen flickered to life. The footage was shaky. Grainy. It showed a bedroom, mine. The dorm room again. Same angle as the photo. The timestamp in the corner said it was from February. I was asleep, bundled in my sheets, completely unaware of the camera. And then, after about 30 seconds of silence, someone stepped into frame. The person was wearing a hoodie. Head down. But not low enough. I saw the face. It was Tyler. He just stood there, staring at me. Breathing. No movement. No noise. Just watching. For over 2 minutes. Then he walked over and gently touched the edge of my pillow. Not my face. Not my arm. Just the pillow. Then the screen cut to black. Another clip began. This time, it was our living room at night. I was on the couch, headphones in, watching something on my laptop. The camera was behind me, filming from the hallway. I had no idea. And again, Tyler stepped into view. He watched me for a while. Then turned to the camera and gave a small nod, like he was approving the footage. Then the tape ended. I just stood there. Frozen. Not crying. Not panicking. Just stunned. There was no explanation for this. No innocent way to spin it. He wasn't doing this out of boredom or for a prank. This was planned. Purposeful. Obsessive. I ejected the tape and just held it, unsure of what to do next. Then I heard it. Footsteps upstairs. Deliberate. Slow. Tyler was awake. And he was coming downstairs. Each step he took echoed like a countdown. I held the VHS tape like it was a weapon, even though it weighed nothing and meant everything. My fingers were shaking. My breath caught in my throat. I thought about running, but the stairs were the only way out, and he was already halfway down. So I did the only thing I could think of. I hit play again. The footage came back on instantly, my dorm room, me asleep, Tyler watching. And that's when he reached the bottom step. He stopped cold. We locked eyes. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on his face. It wasn't fear. It wasn't guilt. It was relief. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. He walked into the room slowly, glanced at the screen, then sat on the couch across from me, like this was normal. Like we were just going to talk. I asked him one question. Why? He didn't answer right away. Just looked at me like he was searching for the right version of the truth to hand over. Then, in the calmest voice I've ever heard, he said, I just needed you to see. See what? I asked him that. He said, you left. You forgot. But I didn't. My heart was pounding. My hands were ice. I didn't know what he was talking about. Forgot what? He leaned forward, eyes locked onto mine, and whispered, you were supposed to remember what we promised. I told him I had no idea what he meant. I asked if this was some kind of twisted prank, if he was sick, if he needed help. But he just shook his head. Then he stood up, walked over to the shelf, and pulled out an old photo album, one I hadn't seen in years. He handed it to me. And said, start from the back. I opened the last page. There was a picture of us, me and Tyler, on Halloween. I was 10, he was 5. We were in the backyard, dressed as matching ghosts. I barely remembered that night. I think I'd been annoyed I had to drag him around with me. But in the photo, he was beaming. I flipped the next page. Another picture. Same night. But in this one, I was handing him something. A locket. One I'd worn every day until college. Tyler had tears in his eyes now. You said we were forever, he whispered. You said we'd never leave each other. I kept flipping. Each page was more unsettling than the last. Dozens of photos. Me holding his hand. Me kissing his forehead. Me promising to protect him. Stuff every older sibling says. Things I never thought twice about. But to him? They were vows. A contract. And I had broken it. I asked him what he thought was going to happen. What exactly he'd been planning. His expression changed. Calm turned to something darker. He said, I was just waiting for you to remember. But now that you've seen everything, I don't have to wait anymore. That sentence echoed in my head. I don't have to wait anymore. Something about the way he said it, so final, like a door slamming shut in my mind, made my entire body lock up. I stood there, holding the album, trying to keep my face neutral, pretending like I wasn't panicking inside. Tyler walked past me and turned off the TV. The screen went black, taking the light with it. We were now in the dark, the faint glow from the basement window barely lighting the space. I watched as he unplugged the VCR, wrapped the cord neatly, and placed it back on the shelf like it was something precious. Then he turned to me and said, "You're going to remember all of it." I had no clue what he meant. My memories of him were normal, at least, they used to be. Birthday parties, school drop-offs, shared bowls of popcorn during movie nights. Nothing stood out. Nothing suggested any of this. But he spoke with conviction, like I'd made a promise in blood and was now breaking it. He started walking up the stairs. And that's when I noticed his hand. He was holding the locket. The one I thought I lost years ago. The one from the photo. He hadn't said where he got it. He didn't need to. Something inside me snapped then. I didn't know what was happening, but I couldn't just let it go. I followed him upstairs and asked again, what did he mean by remember? What was I forgetting? He paused in the hallway, right in front of his room, and smiled. You will. Soon. Then he shut the door behind him. I stood there for what felt like hours, my mind flipping through every childhood memory, searching for something, anything, that matched this version of Tyler. But nothing came. I finally went back to my room, locked the door, and stayed awake until morning. When I came out the next day, he was gone. So were my parents. A note on the fridge said they'd gone to visit relatives. Tyler had gone with them. It was a lie. I called every relative we had. No one had seen them. No one had even spoken to them in days. And then, a package arrived at the front door. No return address. Just my name in red marker. Inside? Another VHS tape. And a key. I didn't open the package right away. The weight of it sat on the kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I kept staring at it, waiting for some kind of instinct to tell me what to do. Call the cops? Tell a friend? Burn it and pretend this was all a nightmare? But I didn't do any of those things. I brought it downstairs. The basement still smelled faintly of that strange burnt plastic odor. The VCR was where Tyler had left it, plugged back in, waiting. I slid in the tape, turned on the TV, and braced myself. This footage was different. It started in the woods. Our woods. The ones behind the house where we used to build forts and dig for treasure as kids. The camera was shaky, like whoever was holding it was walking fast. Then it focused on a shed. A small one. Old. It used to belong to the neighbors, but they'd moved out years ago and no one ever used it. I hadn't thought about it in forever. We used to call it the hideout. The camera zoomed in on the padlock, then cut to black. And then, my voice. Soft. Younger. Maybe 10 years old. I was saying something, barely above a whisper. Tyler, don't tell anyone. It's just our place now. The screen flickered. Another clip. This time, I was on screen. But not the current me. Little me. Sitting inside the shed, crisscrossed on the floor, laughing. Tyler was filming. He sounded so happy. I was telling him a story, something about monsters and how we had to protect each other. I ended it by saying, I'll never leave you. Swear on my life. Then the tape glitched. When the screen returned, it was present-day Tyler, standing in front of the shed. He looked into the camera and said, she forgot. But I didn't. Then he unlocked the padlock. The screen went black. I sat frozen for a long time. Then I picked up the key. It matched the padlock from the video. I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed not to. But I had to know. So I grabbed my flashlight, shoved the key in my pocket, and headed into the woods. Toward the shed. The woods were dead quiet. Not even the usual buzz of insects or rustle of wind through trees. Just stillness. Like the whole forest was holding its breath. I pushed through the overgrowth, my flashlight cutting through the dense dark until I saw it, the shed. Exactly as I remembered it. Only now, the paint was peeling, the roof sagging, and the padlock on the door was shiny and new, almost out of place. Like it had just been added. My heart was thudding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I stood there for a moment, staring at that lock. Tyler had been here. He'd filmed that video. This was real. All of it. I pulled the key from my pocket and slipped it into the lock. It turned with a soft click. The door creaked open. The smell hit me first, dust, rot, and something metallic, like rusted iron. My flashlight cut across the room. There was a single chair in the center, small and wooden, and something pinned to it. A photograph. I stepped closer. It was me again. Older this time, taken recently. I was leaving my dorm building, coffee in hand, earbuds in. The angle was low, like someone had been hiding behind a bush or a car. There were more photos on the walls, hanging by clothespins on strings, me at the bookstore, me laughing with friends, me asleep on the couch at home. But the worst part wasn't the pictures. It was the wall behind them, covered in scribbled writing. Words and phrases like "she belongs here," "don't let her forget," "remember the pact," and over again, she swore. In the far corner, there was a box. Same kind of box the tape came in. I didn't want to open it. I really didn't. But I had to. Inside was a pair of scissors, and a bundle of hair. Mine. I staggered back, nearly dropping the flashlight. My vision blurred, stomach twisting. That was it. I was done. I turned to leave. And the door slammed shut behind me. I ran to it, pulling, yanking, but it was locked. From the outside. And that's when I heard footsteps. Approaching. Slow. Steady. Then, Tyler's voice, just beyond the door. "You remember now, don't you?" The sound of his voice chilled me in a way I can't describe. It wasn't angry or threatening. It was gentle. Patient. Like a caretaker waiting for someone to wake up from a long sleep. "You remember now, don't you?" he said again, like he expected an answer. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I backed away from the door, eyes darting around the shed for anything I could use to defend myself, escape, make sense of what this even was. Tyler started humming. A soft, sing-song tune I recognized instantly. An old lullaby. One my mom used to hum when we were kids. But she never sang it to me. It was Tyler's. Only his. The moment the melody reached my ears, something broke loose in my head. A memory. Buried. Twisted. Real. Me, standing in this shed. Him, sitting cross-legged on the floor, crying after our parents had a screaming fight. I was 10. He was 5. I told him we'd run away together. That we'd live in the woods, just us. That I'd always protect him. That I'd never leave. And then I said something else. Something I hadn't remembered until now. "We'll come back here if we ever lose each other. This will be our place." I had meant it as a game. Just a way to make him stop crying. But he had remembered. Every word. And now, he'd brought me back. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. He stood there, hoodie pulled up, eyes wide, and smiling. But it wasn't the smile of a brother. It wasn't even human. It was the smile of someone who believed they'd done everything right. "You came back," he whispered. I stepped forward slowly, hands raised, not to surrender, but to keep him calm. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the locket. "You dropped this when you left." I didn't want it. I didn't want any of this. But I took it. Because I had to survive. We walked back to the house together in silence. I didn't ask questions. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I waited. That night, I packed my things. I told my parents I was going back to school early for a summer class. They didn't question it. And I left. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've changed my number. Switched dorms. Blocked Tyler on every platform. I haven't told anyone, not even my closest friends, what happened. But I still wear the locket. Because part of me knows this isn't over. And someday, he'll come looking for me again. And when he does, I'll be ready.